The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with 1,000 colors, every hue a reflection of the diverse civilizations gathered inside. Towers of crystalline delegates whispered in tones too high for the human ear. Amphibians lounged in water-filled pods, their gills flaring with irritation. Mechanical species ticked, clicked, and processed, their every movement catalogued. And at the center, standing on the Envoy's dais, was Ambassador Helen Cross of Earth, the first human ever entrusted to speak on behalf of her species to the Council of the 72. Beside her, silent, unyielding, stood her bodyguard, Major David Rourke. David had been a soldier once, long before politics. He had fought on Earth's Martian frontier, bled on Europa's ice plains, and carried scars from pirate skirmishes around the belt. His official title was Security Liaison. Unofficially, he was Helen's shield. He scanned the chamber with a soldier's eyes, always mapping exits, estimating threats, cataloging hostile intent. He didn't need alien translators to know when someone was preparing trouble. Predators recognized predators. The accusation. Helen's voice carried with the amplified clarity of the translator nodes. Earth comes to the Council not as conqueror, not as supplicant, but as partner. We bring innovation, stability, and above all, the will to protect this fragile alliance. A ripple moved across the chamber, unrest. The Council had grown uneasy with humans. Earth's meteoric rise unsettled species who had expected another century or two of quiet dominance. From the gallery a figure rose. A towering warlord, scaled and gleaming like polished obsidian, lifted a clawed hand. "Objection," it hissed, the translation unit flattening the menace in its tone. Earth's envoy speaks of partnership while their fleets circle trade routes like carrion crows. The humans build weapons on their colonies. They prepare for war. Murmurs spread, and a chorus of alien voices added accusations. Resource hoarding, expansionism, arrogance. Then the trap was sprung. A delegation of Ketheri inquisitors, thin, skeletal beings draped in pale robes, rose from their seats. "We submit charges against the human envoy for destabilizing Council order. By decree, Ambassador Helen Cross is to be detained pending trial." The chamber flared with light. Security drones activated, black orbs bristling with shock lances, converging on Helen. David moved before Helen could draw breath. His arm swept her back, his other hand loosening the restraints on his sidearm. His voice, low but sharp, cut through the tension. "No one lays hands on her." The first clash. The drones hummed closer, their weapons crackling. David stepped forward, placing his armored frame between Helen and the advancing machines. "David!" Helen hissed, alarmed. "Don't!" But the first drone struck. Its lance darted forward, a blur of electricity meant to incapacitate. David twisted, grabbing the lance shaft with his gloved hand. With a grunt, he yanked, smashing the orb into the polished council floor. Metal crumpled. Gasps echoed through the chamber. 3 more drones converged. David drew his pistol. Non-lethal settings were pointless. These things weren't alive. A burst of tungsten slugs reduced one to shrapnel. The second orb fired, but David shifted his stance, taking the blast across his armored chest plate. Pain lanced through him, but he didn't falter. His countershot punched through its casing. The third tried to flank, but David was faster. He hurled the wreckage of the first drone straight into it, both crashing into the gallery below. "Enough!" he barked. His voice carried the tone of a battlefield commander, a man who had ordered charges through hellfire and lived. The chamber went silent, except for the sound of sizzling drone fragments. The standoff. Helen tugged at his arm. David, stop. This is the council, we cannot. But the inquisitors were already hissing for more guards. Troops in ornate armor entered, weapons drawn. Alien delegates leaned forward, scenting blood, watching to see if humans would fold or fight. David's eyes narrowed. He didn't want this fight, but neither would he surrender his charge. This envoy is under Earth's protection, he declared, voice steady. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The Doe warlord sneered. Then bleed for her, human. Guards advanced, a dozen strong, their weapons not drones this time but living steel forged for war. David adjusted his stance. His breathing slowed. Muscles coiled. All right, Rourke. One more battlefield. One more stand. The battle in the chamber. The first guard lunged. David sidestepped, disarming with brutal efficiency. Twist, a snap, and the alien crashed down. The second came from the right. David dropped low, sweeping its legs, driving an elbow into its chest. Another down. Blaster fire erupted. David dragged Helen behind a crystalline bench as energy bolts scorched the air. He popped up, returning fire, his slugs tearing through armor with sickening finality. Chaos consumed the council chamber. Delegates fled or screeched in outrage. Security fields flared, alarms screamed. But through it all, David fought like the soldier he was forged to be. Relentless, unbreakable. 3 guards pressed him at once. One blade carved across his arm, drawing blood. He roared, slamming the attacker into the wall, then used the corpse as a shield against the other's fire. His pistol clicked empty. Without hesitation, he seized a fallen alien's blade and wielded it like he had trained with it all his life. Helen's voice cut through the madness. David, enough. We need diplomacy, not a massacre. But David only shook his head. Diplomacy doesn't work if you're dead. Turning the tide. Just when the guards began to overwhelm him, something unexpected happened. A new voice thundered across the chamber. Cease this madness. It was the Vrock consul, a being respected for centuries. Massive, furred eyes like molten amber. The Vrock were neutral arbiters, their word heavy in council matters. The consul raised a clawed hand. The humans came in peace. These charges are convenient. Its gaze swept the inquisitors. This was no trial. This was an ambush. Murmurs turned to roars. Other delegates, long wary of the inquisitors' overreach, seized the chance to push back. Voices rose, demanding investigation, demanding justice. The inquisitors shrieked, but their support fractured. The council guards, uncertain, hesitated. David lowered the bloodied blade but didn't release his stance. He stood over Helen like a sentinel until the room's fury shifted fully from them to the accusers. The aftermath. Hours later, the chamber was secured. The wreckage was cleared. The council had suspended the inquisitors pending inquiry. Helen sat in the envoy's quarters, head in her hands. David, you nearly started a war. David leaned against the wall, bandages wrapped around his arm. No, Ambassador. They nearly started a war. I just made sure you lived to stop it. She looked up at him, at the man who had faced down armies for her without flinching. She wanted to be angry. Instead, she felt something else. Gratitude, heavy and fierce. You realize, she said softly, half the council fears us now. David gave a tired grin. Good. Fear's a kind of respect. And respect keeps blades out of your back. Helen exhaled slowly. She had come to speak of peace. Instead, she had been shown the truth. Peace was never given freely. It was defended, sometimes with blood.